A small bird lowers its head into the ear of a giant animal. It is not only feeding itself. Every tick, every tiny insect, every strand of hair it pulls from its host. This is the red-billed oxpecker, a bird that spends much of its life on the backs, inside the ears and between the folds of skin of large African mammals. But the strangest part of its story is not how it feeds. It is how this bird builds a nest, incubates its eggs, and raises its fragile young with what it finds on the bodies of giants. Across the African savanna, the red-billed oxpecker is not impressive because of its size. It is small, very small, especially beside a buffalo, a giraffe, or a rhinoceros. On the bodies of these massive animals, it moves as if walking across its own private landscape. Its claws grip tightly into thick skin. Its eyes scan every fold and crease. Its red bill lowers toward an ear, a patch of fur, or a hidden area of skin, where ticks and parasites may be waiting. To the host, the bird's presence can feel familiar, and sometimes irritating. To the oxpecker, it is a feeding ground, but when breeding arrives, everything changes. Now, each feeding trip is no longer just about keeping one adult bird alive. It may decide the survival of an entire nest. Before there are eggs, there must be a place to hide them. The red-billed oxpecker does not build an exposed nest on an open branch like many other small birds. Instead, these a sealed chamber inside a trunk, where outside light can enter only through a small opening. This is where a family begins. From the outside, the hollow may look like nothing special, just a dark hole in dry wood. But inside, the red-billed oxpecker begins to turn it into a nest. Pieces of dry grass are carried in. Tiny roots are pulled together. And most remarkable of all, soft animal hair is added, hair taken from the very bodies of the large mammals the oxpecker clings to. Those strands of hair are more than just nesting material. They are traces of the outside world, a piece of the savanna, a piece of the giant hosts. And now they've become a soft lining for the eggs. That will soon appear. Inside that dark tree hollow, the nest does not need to be beautiful. It needs to be enclosed, soft enough, warm enough, and safe enough to hold fragile life in place. Then the female lays her eggs. Small eggs rest among dry grass, roots, and animal hair. They appear brighter than the darkness around them, standing out inside the shadowed chamber of the tree. Outside, there is sunlight, dust, and the heavy footsteps of large animals. Inside, there is another world, quieter, warmer, smaller, a world with only one entrance, and every hope resting beneath the bodies of the parent birds. The incubation period is the quietest chapter. In this life cycle, there are no chicks crying for food, no tiny beaks stretched open, only warmth, waiting, and repeated journeys between the nest and the outside world.
In some studies, red-billed oxpecker eggs have been recorded hatching after close to 2 weeks of incubation.
But in the wild, what matters more than the number is dependence. The eggs cannot keep themselves warm. They cannot hide themselves from danger. They cannot call for food. Everything depends on the adult birds. One stays with the nest, one leaves, then returns. And every time it leaves the nest, the red-billed oxpecker returns to the place it knows best. The bodies of large animals. There, it searches inside ears, along folds of skin, between short layers of hair, around places where parasites may cling. The red-bill works quickly and precisely. It picks off tiny ticks. It searches for hidden scraps of food beneath the fur. Sometimes, the relationship is not simple. This bird can help remove parasites, but it has also been observed feeding from wounds on its host. Nature is not always clean. It is not always gentle. And it is not always easy to divide into good and bad. Most of the time, it is far more complicated. And that complexity is what keeps this bird alive. But in the story of breeding, the most important thing is simple. Food must return to the nest. Because inside the dark tree hollow, life is about to break open. One day, the silence changes. On the surface of one egg, a tiny crack appears. Then another. Inside the thin shell, a fragile body begins to push its way out. A chick does not enter the world with strength. It enters through weakness. Its skin is still soft, its eyes are still closed, its neck is weak, its body is almost completely defenseless. It knows nothing of the savanna, nothing of the giant animals outside. Nothing of the fact that its parents have flown through a world of dust, skin, hair, ears, ticks, insects, and danger. For the chick, the first world is only the nest, the animal hair beneath its body, the darkness of the tree cavity, the warmth of an adult bird, and the only light coming through the entrance. But hatching is only the beginning. From that moment on, the greatest danger is hunger. The chicks need to eat constantly. Their tiny bodies must grow quickly. Each day, they must change. From helpless creatures into young birds with open eyes, stronger necks, growing feathers, and faster reactions. To the sound of their parents returning. This creates a new pressure on the adults. They must leave the nest more often, feed more often, return more quickly. One feeding trip may begin. On the back of a buffalo, the red-billed oxpecker clings to the thick skin, tilts its head, and lowers its bill into a fold. Another trip may happen near the ear of a host, where the skin is softer, the folds are deeper, and insects may hide. Or carefully, sometimes it parts the short hair with its red bill. Sometimes it pulls a tiny tick from the surface. To someone watching from a distance, this may look like simple feeding behavior. But to the chicks in the nest, it is the next meal. It is the energy to grow feathers, to open their eyes, to lift their heads, to survive one more day. When the parents return, the dark tree hollow suddenly changes. Tiny beaks open, weak necks stretch upward. The chicks cannot see the full world outside, but they recognize the most important signal. Food has arrived. With every feeding, their bodies change. Bare skin becomes covered in soft down. Their eyes open. Their legs grow stronger. Their necks no longer tremble the way they did in the first days. The nest feels smaller. The chicks crowd together beneath the light coming through the hollow entrance. They no longer simply lie still in the animal hair. They begin to react. They begin to beg harder. They begin to look toward the opening, where daylight enters every day. In many observations, the chicks remain in the nest for several weeks. Before they are large enough to leave the hollow, that is the fastest period of transformation, from eggs to newly hatched chicks, to feathered bodies, and finally, to young birds nearly ready to enter the outside world.